Wallabies uncapped 15, folks. We've already had a look at South Africa and New Zealand for this. It's time for the Aussies. Let's pick a team, 15 guys, all thus uncapped, and have a wee test of the old Aussie depth. To be honest, kind of like New Zealand, I was slightly, I guess maybe more pleased than I thought I would have been when going through this. I thought it might be a bit hard in some positions, but I actually think not too bad. Maybe encouraging signs for Aussie rugby. But we'll go through the 15. You guys can give me your thoughts. To be fair, retaining a lot of these guys seems to be the issue sometimes. But anyway, as I said, we'll go through and you guys let me know your thoughts. Now, loose head prop. I've gone with Cameron Orr. I think he has been in the Wallabies frame before, but I don't think he's quite capped yet. When Scotty Seo got injured a while back when he was in the Wallabies, Cameron Orr got a call up, but is not yet capped. He's 27 years old. He's 120 kilos. He's a big unit, and he's having a pretty solid season for the Rebels, I think. He's busy enough around the park, and scrummaging is pretty solid. So, yeah, I think as far as props go in Australia, Cameron Orr will probably get there at some point. 27, he's still got a lot of years in the bank as a prop, but we will see. We'll see how he goes. He's if he keeps performing as he is, I don't see why he wouldn't potentially get in the side. Hooker, I have gone with Waratah and Dave Parecki. He's another kind of senior guy. You could certainly go with someone a bit younger, and a lot of the picks in other positions have gone with guys who are kind of, 25 or younger. But Dave Parecki, bit of a kind of Mr. Consistent senior guy. He's been overseas. He's back in Australia. He's putting in good shift. He's scoring more tries, which comes from the lineouts. He's a big enough unit of a guy, 29 years old, so he's still got a few years in the bank. Australia's gone through a lot of guys in that position, to be honest. And ever since Stephen Moore retired, there's been loads of guys who've had that position for a time. Parecki hasn't been in the mix yet, but at 29 years old, he's still young enough, and he's been consistent enough to be in with a shout. Tight head, if you've watched this channel for any length of time, you know who is coming, and that is Big Pone Fa'amausili from the Rebels. He's another one who's been in the Wallabies mix before. He would certainly be capped by now, if not for, I think, an injury he sustained when in Wallabies camp. And he's missed a bit of this season with injury as well. So he's another big unit. He's 135 kilos, 25 years old. Loves a big ball carry. He loves a big run-up as well, doesn't he? He just hits the line at absolute full speed. The scrummaging can get better as well. So, yeah, big unit like that. I think that's actually a pretty decent front row. Certainly a fair bit of weight in that lot. Second row, I have gone with the Reds man in Ryan Smith. He's 25 years old. He's just under 2 meters tall. He's one of the top line-out guys in the competition. He's like 117 kilos. He's a bit of a workhorse around the park. Scored a try the other week against, who was it he played? I can't remember. I think it was maybe the Highlanders. Burrowed over for a try, so got himself fairly low enough to the ground. But yeah, another guy who's on that kind of fringe with Aussie rugby, isn't he? But with the departure of some other guys like Lukan Salakaia-Loto, that maybe lifts his stocks with Dave Rennie. We will kind of have to wait and see. And I've managed to get a Brumby in the mix. A bit more of a youngster in Nick Frost. I can't believe it. He's only 22 years old. That's crazy. He's over 2 meters tall by a few centimeters, like 2.06. He's a proper unit of a lock, like at line-out time, which is one of his specialties as well. He is a key man, 120 kilos. Good, big, solid, tight head lock to put behind a guy like Fa'amausili. I think that's a recipe for a bit of success. And that Brumby's maul is also pretty lethal, and he's a big part of driving that maul forward. So yeah, I think as a tight five, I think that's actually pretty decent. They're all in their 20s. They're all big men in an age where it seems to be that the big packs are kind of winning the day. I think that's not too bad. Lucy's, again, more of a personal favourite, although he is heading overseas, so he's probably not eligible. But I was never going to not pick Fergus Lee Warner. I think it's a bit of a travesty that he's never managed to get a cap. He's 28 years old, so it's the right time for him to leave Aussie rugby. He's kind of paid his dues. He's a big guy. He's 1.98 meters, so 6 foot. What is that? 6'6". He's like 110 kilos. He's kind of that lock loose forward guy. So he's another line-out option. He's one of the top guys in Super Rugby this year for carries. He's one of the top guys for offloads. He's just an absolute workhorse of a player. Gets through tons of tackles. I'm not quite sure how he never made it. I guess whatever they're looking for in the areas that he offers, either in the second row or in the loose, is not quite what Big Fergus can bring for the Force, but I reckon he's been going really well, and I think he is a bit of a loss to Aussie rugby. But there you go. Like I said, 28 years old. He's off to Worcester. I'm still picking him before he goes. 7. I've gone with another Force man, and here's where we get maybe a little bit more in terms of mobility. Tim Anstey, former Sevens man. He's mobile. He's not small. He's certainly not like a big unit of a man, but as a 7 with Big Fergus next to him, he doesn't need to be. He's mobile. He's like 6'2", so he's pretty quick around the park. He gets in the breakdown. He makes his tackles. So yeah, Tim Anstey I think is a good kind of a good man to partner Fergus, who's more of the solid lock loose forward. Tim Anstey's more of the mobile man. And speaking of mobile, I'm going to go with Raboni Warren Vosuyatho at number 8. I've picked essentially Anstey and Vosuyatho as purely just mobile guys. Vosuyatho is an exciting player. He's a bit of a left field pick, if I'm honest. But he's that quick that when he played for the Sunwolves, he was occasionally put into the back line. So, I mean, he's not small. He's like 105 kilos. He's just under, he must be around about 6 foot. So, maybe a little bit small for international rugby, if I'm honest. But if you want to put all that weight into the tight 5, I don't think it's too bad to have a little bit of mobility in the loose forwards. Plus, I mean, Fergus is essentially like another lock anyway. So, yeah, that is the forward pack. I should say there's a couple of other guys like Elof and like Uru and like Gamble, but I'm not sure any of them are eligible yet. Correct me if I'm wrong. Charlie Gamble's been tackling the house down and getting pilfers, but I don't know if he's eligible for Australia. Likewise, Seru Uru, who would probably be ahead of Vosuyatho, to be fair, if he's eligible. If he's eligible, you can chuck him in, and Elof as well. South African, a Fijian, and a Kiwi. So yeah, if they are eligible, certainly worth a shout. Into the backs, another guy with 3 names, Isaac Fines, Lelawasa. It's an L. Isaac Fines Lelawasa, man, he is playing some really good rugby for the Force. He's kind of put Ian Pryor out of a job, who's the captain and starting 9 for the Force, but he just adds so much zip and pace to the Force attack. He's really that kind of high-tempo guy who adds that bit of X-factor to the Force's go-forward ball. So I think the Aussies have got loads of 9s this season, are all playing really well. McDermott's playing well. The Waratahs guy, what's his name, is playing really well. Yeah, the 9s in Australia this year are all playing pretty well, but Lelawasa is certainly up there with them. 10... I've gone with Ben Donaldson, who maybe isn't the right fit for Lelawasa. I'm not sure. But Donaldson is kind of like Mr. Consistent. He's not the fastest. He's a pretty solid guy for a 10. He's got a solid kicking game, solid distribution, can carry the ball, can defend. So maybe leave like the sniping runs and whatnot to Fines Lelawasa, and then have Donaldson as kind of, your 6 foot, 84 kilo, solid number 10, just to run the show, kind of no fuss, just get the job done. I don't know. There's other guys you could pick at 10, but a lot of them are already capped as well. Left wing, I've gone with Andy Muirhead, who's another guy who's been in the Wallabies camp before, but not managed to get himself capped. He scored like 3 tries as I record this for the Brumbies this season. He's 28, so if he is going to get a cap, it probably needs to be pretty soon. He's got wheels. He's he's actually bigger than he looks. He's like 6 foot, but he doesn't look it. 84 kilos, so he's not the biggest winger. He's certainly not a big old power winger, but he's an elusive runner. And like I said, a bit of gas. So, yeah, I think he could certainly make the step up. Midfield, I kind of found the hardest, but I chucked in Hamish Stewart from the Reds. I always thought he's a bit small. 1.8 meters, so it's under 6 foot, 87 kilos. He's not that big, but he's a busy guy on defense, certainly. He is the top tackler for all the backs in Super Rugby as I record this. He gets through a ton of work, which is kind of surprising because, like I say, he's not a real big dude. Not going to offer as much on attack. He's more of a distributor than a ball carrier. He usually needs a 13 outside him like a Paisami to kind of get that punch. But yeah, Hamish Stewart for midfield options. Not entirely happy with him, but I can see his positive, the positives that he can bring to the game anyway. 13, I went with Alex Newsome from the Tars. I was kind of searching for who's the big Karevi, who's the Parise. I mean, the Waratahs have got bloody Jamie Roberts. Like, who's the big ball-carrying unit? I don't know who to go with. So going with Alex Newsome, he's more of like a Callaway-style centre when he does play, right? Because he's an outside back midfielder. He's got a bit of a utility. He scored 4 tries for the Waratahs this year, 6'2". He's 93 kilos, so he's bigger than Stewart, but that's not hard. He's quick enough. So he's a bit lightweight. I would like a bigger ball carrier in that midfield than those two, but you could certainly do worse than those two. So, yeah, Stewart and Newsome, I think that was genuinely the hardest 2 guys to pick. But, I mean, you got Josh Fluke from the Reds. I'm going to say Rebels Reds as well. But, yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure who else to go for in the midfield. But I think those guys are solid without being spectacular. A guy who kind of hasn't really met his potential yet. He's kind of like the Roger Tuivasa-Sheck of Aussie rugby at the moment, is league convert Suliasi Vunivalu. He's got crazy league skills. He's a big guy. He's 1.92, so he's like, what, 6'3", 6'2", and 99 kilos, so about 100 kilos. So he's a bit bigger than old Andy Muirhead. He's really good in the air, eh? So if he can stay fit, if his bloody hamstrings can be fit, and we can finally see that full potential out of him, maybe. On form, is it probably a guy like Nawani Tawase? Yes, although Nawani Tawase's defence sometimes leaves a bit to be desired. Vunivalu is certainly a reputational rather than a form pick, but if they can unlock that crazy skill set, why not? And lastly, a Reds man in old Jock Campbell, who must be on the fringe of the Wallabies as well. He's 26 years old, 1.86, so not a huge guy, but not small by any means, 85 kilos. He's quick. He can kick the ball. So kind of a Mr. Consistent guy there at fullback, which is what you want, given how much aerial ball you will be expected to take these days. So, yeah, that's the 15. As I said, the midfield, I think, is the hardest. There's a few other options at 10 other than Donaldson, like Carter Gordon. He's been in pretty decent run for the Rebels. Will Harrison as well. Will Harris, maybe in the back row if you want a bit more of a big ball carrying guy instead of a mobile guy. Could be an option if you want to pinch some overseas guys. Lewis Liner is a potential good option in the outside backs. Duncan Paiawa for the midfield maybe, but he's kind of more of the same. He's not like a big ball carrier. He's more of a distributor. More like a 10 who plays 12 as well. So, yeah, those are some potential guys. You guys let me know what you reckon. How do you think this speaks to the depth or lack of? I'm actually pretty happy with it for Aussie Rugby. There's certainly other guys I could have got in. Jed Holloway. There's certainly a bunch of others. But, yeah, that's my crack at it. You guys let me know yours. Who would you put in to a Wallabies uncapped 15? Kane Kateka, maybe some other guys from the Force. But anyway, hopefully it's a bit of fun. And you guys let me know your thoughts. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye.